Thank you for joining us once again. My name is Chris Turner, host of the Up and Under podcast. I have here with a couple distinguished guests from the Lindenwood University women's rugby side. Here we have Coach Billy Nicholas. Here we have Mckenna Strong and Richelle Stevens, both co-captains, or how does that usually go? Does one the captain A, captain B, or is it just on the same level?
She's up to the boss.
So, very cool.
We try and mix it up now and then.
Captain,
Yeah.
kind of backup.
Yeah. Okay. So just in case, so which one's the cool head? Which was the hot head or good cop, bad cop routine? Which one would you
I
say?
feel like we don't have one. I know. It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could get kind of mad
Well,
sometimes.
since she's
usually
a backup
I'm pretty
forward,
cool.
so that
Oh,
helps.
That's the split.
Like I kind
that's
of,
the split.
That's the split.
Okay.
I sort of lead the forwards, she leads the backs.
Okay. So if there's you said you're a second row, right?
Yeah.
So let's just say one of your props, gets in a fight, and then you have to go to the ref and go,
Yeah.
sorry, we'll work it out. But if your wing or fullback, gets in the mix of things, you're like, that's my turn.
Yeah, I guess so. If it's not me. No, I'm just kidding.
But if it's either one of you, then who steps in? Then is it we should have known better?
Shame on you.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, I know we had spoke just briefly before we started recording, but you flew in for the D1Elite matchup against, who's your opponent that you're playing? BYU. So very strong, and they've always been a very powerful club, so to speak, in the men's and women's side. How have you guys really prepared for this game as players?
Well, we've had a lot of games this season,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess preparation through those games, really hard matchups. Our first really hard game was Glendale, and then we played against Life a few weeks ago, and then now I feel that we've prepared through those games for this game. So, I feel, and this week too, we've been mentally getting ready and geared up for this match.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always really good to test yourself against really high-level quality opponents, right? Especially when you said you're playing Glendale. I'm assuming that's a WPL side?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? Where you're kind of we might potentially play these girls in a matter of years once we graduate, right? Or once you graduate. So it's almost nice to test your own individual mettle, but as a team as well, right? And Coach, I have to kind of turn toward you on this question, but who really decides in the makeup of these matches? Is it all a collective effort with all the D1Elite coaches mixed with the WPL teams? How does that really work out?
Yeah, I think in the scheme of things, it's just all the coaches that kind of reach out to one another and try and make the most competitive schedule possible. Being a part of the D1Elite, we've got our playoffs set, which I think we'll talk a little bit more about.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, really, we're just trying to build a schedule and kind of have our falls, our developmental season for 15s, and how we do that is to attempt to reach out and play the best team so we can get better, win or lose.
Definitely. And then that's always really a challenge in the sport of rugby where you have really high quality levels of teams and others that may not have caught up yet, where you're trying to find those good games, but at the same time still trying to grow the sport.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse for us, right? So we don't have a set schedule that's given out to us, but we also have the flexibility of being independent of schedule. We can do things like come out here and play Glendale and play some women's sides. And in years prior, we've gone out and played in the elite women's side at Vegas 7. So there's some things that we can do from an independent standpoint that will kind of help us and grow us in a developmental aspect for the girls. But, in general, it would be nice to get a set schedule at some point, a little bit less planning involved.
Right. It's always just to know to budget for those things and to really plan of practice schedules. And I'm sure, we could go on a gambit of that. But, anyway, so talk a little bit about the upcoming matchup that you have. Sorry, Mckenna, you said you were second row. How's the forward pack, aside from the backs, how have you guys really shaped your mentality playing these high-quality teams and this upcoming match where it's kind of on a pedestal, so to speak, at the college level? How have your forward pack really came together?
Well, going into this, we know that they're strong, powerful team altogether. So really we've just focused on our chemistry in our scrum sessions, lineouts, and just trying to be as tough on each other as possible at practices. So just a lot of contact and a lot of work against each other.
Right. And I know because I used to play college ball myself, and it's tough when you get to a level where you really need to hammer away at practice and really kind of work out the tweaks, but also you don't want to injure each other.
Yeah.
Right? So for those who don't know, who are listening or watching, how big is a Lindenwood club at the university level? Like, how many players on average come to practice, and how many, like, do you have a little bit of leeway when it comes to maybe having an unfortunate injury?
Probably 50.
50.
Probably 50 active right now that are practicing.
Okay.
And I'd say our bench is pretty deep.
Yeah.
Our leeway is pretty good.
So you guys
Yeah.
feel really confident in your depth.
Yes.
So if, with the unfortunate, knock on wood, if one person were to go down, it would essentially be next person
Mhm.
up, and honestly, nothing would change, or would it be a little bit of a restructuring possibly?
I mean, playing with different people is always going to be a little bit different, but it's not going to totally change the outcome of the game. Or I don't know. It's not like too dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I'm really confident in our team about is our depth. Anybody on the bench is going to go in and make a huge impact. So
We've had some freak injuries over the past couple months, so there's definitely been
Yeah.
quite a few people that have stepped up
yeah,
to fill some shoes that were some big shoes, and they've done a really good job at that.
Well, shout out to those players
Yeah.
doing that, because that's honestly one of the crucial aspects of a team, right? Because even if you don't have the numbers, having that solid backup come and take up fill in the shoes essentially and kind of continue like nothing ever happens, really hard to do.
Yeah.
So shout out to those players who've stepped up, and hopefully a smooth recovery for those who have can't play anymore for at least this season. So I'm going to kind of direct a little bit toward the WPL scope of things, where I'm sure you guys have your sets on a potential rugby future, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. Well, you're playing at a high level now, so it almost seems fitting to just have that in your mind for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, when it comes to actually having your team come into this atmosphere, along with all these WPL teams and coaches going to be at the game, potentially recruiting, talking to you, sussing out for the next potential years of their program, how does that really affect the scope of rugby when it comes to going into the high school, into the high performance levels that you've seen?
I mean, from a team perspective for us, just as far as, having all of those individuals in attendance for us at the game today, I don't think that our women put any more, pressure than they do on themselves already. So, I mean, from the scope of having people come and attend the game and having a good turnout, they're already kind of, managing inside their own heads and mentally preparing for that. But from the scope of it, creating that high school pathway into collegiate athletics and then into the WPL is really, why some of the D1 Elite coaches reached out to try and do something on this particular weekend. Just the fact that, we'll have an opportunity after the matches get finished just to meet with the WPL coaches and the WPL sides to talk a bit about their city and a bit about their program and what they can offer. I mean,
right.
What you're doing is visually you're just creating and kind of putting some closure on that pathway and what could happen. I think in the past couple of years it's really grown in that perspective. Mm-hmm. I think competitively watching the WPL games have got more and more competitive over the past couple of years. Collegiate athletics more and more competitive. So I think what we'll see happen is, obviously as the high school and the youth stuff grows and leads into increased number of college student athletes, and there's so many great women's rugby programs throughout the United States in college athletics right now. Whether you're interested in playing at the highest level or whether you're interested in training twice a week and playing D2 or D3, there's a program out there for everybody. And I think really what this event does is it creates that visual picture of, what we're trying to do and where that pathway can lead you.
And that's wonderful, just taking that first step toward that ultimate goal of having more rugby across the entire nation, right?
Yeah.
In all age levels and all differences in both genders too.
Yeah.
Which, shout out to everyone in accordance of this weekend putting this together and having all the teams kind of come together on the different levels. That's pretty huge for the sport. And that's awesome that you guys are a part of that. And I hope that you can kind of take it the moment and really, let it soak in.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll kind of take off from the serious side of things, but really talk more fun rugby, I guess you could say. I really want to talk to the captains here about your prior experience. Who's played rugby the longest?
Yeah, I started when I was 14. So,
14.
Yeah, been
Nice.
there for a while.
So is it was your high school or a club nearby really
Yeah.
good, or they just kind of pulled you aside? Did you outwardly look for it? How did that really go?
A friend of mine wanted to play, and she wrote me into going to a tryout, essentially. And she never showed up, so I went by myself. And so, but my hometown is Fallbrook Girls Rugby Club, I guess.
Okay.
So
Shout out to Fallbrook. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go.
yeah. So when we were on the team, or when I was on the team, they still do very well,
Mhm.
but we were national champions for many, many years. So it was a good club, and everyone was really involved in my town with the club.
Were you part of the single school or the multi-school high school nationals? Or because I know in men's they do that, where they do
Yeah.
single school, multi-school.
It
How is that?
changed in the middle. Like my first couple of years, it was just like you had to go to Fallbrook to be on the team. But
Okay.
then, other girls, their rugby clubs vanished, and they still want to play. So
Mhm.
then I think they opened up the rules a little bit so girls could come and play for a team who didn't go to Fallbrook.
Right.
So I don't really know the details on that, but I
Mhm.
know that in my junior and senior year we had some outsiders come in and play with us.
Well, it's always good to get that different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're not around them all day, every day, like you are at school.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you do build that comfortability and that that essentially that similar mindset, right?
Yeah.
Where you get someone from us, everyone's kind of like, okay, how's this gonna
Yeah.
work out? Like,
It was kind of interesting. They have their own way of playing, what they were taught, and then
Right.
to come and have to change,
right?
or we learn from them, whatever. But yeah, it was cool.
Very cool. So, Mckenna, obviously you haven't been playing since 14, since Richelle has been playing a little bit longer. But when did you get involved in the sport?
I started playing when I was 16.
Okay, not too far behind. Then.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Yeah.
I originally started out playing sevens. My best friend really got me into it. She got me to go to a tryout, just like the same.
Did she
For
go
sure.
with you?
She actually did go.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, she actually
Plus
did
one
go.
for her.
Yeah, I was gonna say misery loves company, but apparently just leaves it at the door. And
Yeah, so she got me to go to. I'm from Washington, so we went to the Washington State Sevens tryouts,
Gotcha.
and we both ended up making the team. I'd never played rugby before, and my first game was actually at Las Vegas Sevens for their high school tournament.
Oh, really cool.
So yeah, that was like my first time ever playing.
Nice. And how's the transition been from just kind of like stepping on a pitch in high school,
Mhm.
and then now playing at one of the more prominent clubs in the nation? How has that been?
It's been amazing, honestly. It's a really big step. I think it's been like a huge learning process for me. Just coming in freshman year, I had a lot of learning to do. You don't just walk in. You could be like one of the best people in high school and walk in and not even start. So you really just have to like work your way up, and it's really good to play against like everybody else that's really good.
Right. It just ups the level of play internally, right? That's great. So, Coach, I'm going to bring it back to you, but how do you find these players all across the nation? How do you bring them in? Because I mean, you could have someone like Richelle that's been playing for 4 years prior, someone like Mckenna who's 2 years, and they're from different states. Like how do you cast that net?
Yeah, well, before I answer that one, I do want to give them some shout-outs real quick, too, just as we talk about them both. As Mckenna mentioned, just this ability in the transition from the high school to the college game was about learning. I think one of the really cool things about our team and one of the reasons why we've had the success that we have is that we've all bought into this process that we're all lifelong learners, right? So for us, when we come in, there's very few players that I think that I've ever had on the team that think that we know everything, right? We could still go out and win a game by 50 or 60 points, but there's still areas that they find without even me asking that they still want to get better at and they still want to work on. And, I look at myself in the mirror as a coach and I think the exact same thing. I never want to get to a point where I think I know everything in coaching. At that time I should stop coaching. And I think they've really taken that same mentality upon themselves. And I think that's one of the reasons why we develop so quickly is because they take that initiative and they have the ability to kind of break down that film and break down how we play and ask really good questions at practice that kind of help the newer players kind of develop much quicker. So, it's a big shout out to them as a collective on, how they've driven the growth of the team. And then Mckenna Strong is actually a capped 15s Eagle for USA. So she went on the last tour to the UK, right? And who'd you get to play against?
New Zealand,
Yep.
England, and Ireland.
Yep.
Wow.
Woo!
Yep. And,
Wow.
Yeah. So
Big
pretty
girls.
cool.
We'll definitely circle back
Yeah.
to that. Yeah.
And then
that too.
Richelle had an interesting transition into Lindenwood. She was taking classes part-time from the OTC, and she went to the Olympics in Rio with the USA Sevens team. So yeah, no. So right now, like
I'm a little
not.
starstruck
I
right
know.
now,
So I'm
holy
not
cow.
much sitting next to them. So that's why I was like, let me tell you about them, so I get less questions.
Wow.
So yeah, no. I mean, they're two wonderful players on the team, and they've really helped grow it the past couple of years that they've been with us. And obviously their accolades for USA are well represented.
Wow. I mean, shout out to the coach. Shout out to the players because, yeah, I mean, I wasn't privy to that information as well.
Yeah.
But that's wonderful that you guys have had such like a wide array of experience, especially on an international level, whether that be playing or just going or mixing up with the team. And not a lot of players get the chance to do that. And wow, that's amazing, you guys. So before we get to them real quick, again for the recruiting, is it more of a how do you cast the net, I guess?
So I think initially when the program first started up, I tried to go to every high school tournament we possibly could. We just needed to grow the program, and obviously the attempt was to get the right people in place, but at the same time, you've got to at least have the numbers to be able to field the team. So I think it was a mixture of really us trying to grow the numbers initially, and after we've done that, then it's kind of the continual focus on the quality of the individual that you're bringing in your recruiting. And it's kind of a mixture at this point right now. I would say, it's the coaching staff and the players both getting out and kind of making recognition on people that are really excelling for their high schools or their club programs across the nation. And it's also coaches and players as well emailing us directly and, sending us some highlight footage and a bit about themselves and kind of talking themselves up, so we get to learn a bit more about them.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you for giving us a little bit of insight on that. I'm sure a lot of other coaches are really interested of how they could really gain their presence as well. But yeah, don't worry about the background noise. But anyway,
to be honest with you too, and just to answer that, because I know there is quite a few programs that continue to start up every year, which I think is fantastic. I think the more programs, the better for women's rugby in the nation. I think for us though, it's a process to kind of get to that point. Like we did not get to where we are as a program. We didn't have the numbers we did. We didn't have the success we did overnight. I mean, it was something that took a couple years to be able to build.
Right.
It. And even at that point, it seemed fast for us. So it's definitely something where if you kind of stick to it and really just have a really good work ethic and you're getting out there and talking to people, I think any program has the ability to grow and do well in the nation.
Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth. If you put in the time and effort and definitely the elbow grease and have a little bit of patience mixed in, you could potentially have, a powerful side like Lindenwood, or at least a one that has a large scope and a net to cast, if you will. But yeah, thank you again for that insight, Coach. And then for less questions for you, I'm going to go right back to the players here. We'll start with the capped eagle, 15's eagle, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the closest one to me, I guess. So give us a little bit of that insight of, exactly what happened, what you did, and, how you kind of felt after the whole process.
Well, going into it, I'm obviously still really young. So my only goal for going on tour was just to be a sponge and absorb as much as I could and bring it back to our team and just try to help us out as much as possible. And it's the experience. It's playing against the best women in the world. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, when you were there playing against them, I'm sure talking to them after or beforehand or whatever, what did they really have to say about the U.S. style of play and where we're at as a nation?
Honestly, we didn't really talk about that too much after.
Yeah. What did you talk about if it wasn't too personal? Did you talk?
Just personally. I'm a little shy. I don't talk to a lot of people.
That's okay.
But I guess it's just being a newbie and young and shy, I guess.
Yeah. That's wonderful that you were able to be that sponge, and that's exactly what a lot of players out there probably need to learn more about doing. It's just, and I know it's weird because I host like an interview series, but I need to do a little bit less talking sometimes and really just listen and be that sponge. Yeah. So hopefully a lot more players can get that inspiration from you and really grow themselves before they could help grow others. But yeah, moving on to the other USA capped eagle. That's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
It goes back kind of far. So I guess
Oh,
I
lady.
know, I'm like, it was a long time coming. So the first time high school like teams were allowed in the CRCs, I was like scouted for the Olympic training or like the sevens team, I guess.
Mhm.
Back when there was no rules and regulations for age or anything, so it was like I was this 15, 16-year-old girl. I think I was 15 the first couple times, and then I finally turned 16 at these camps with women, for like
Right.
sevens camps with like Jill Potter and Kelly Griffin and like all these people, and they just totally annihilate me. But
Good rebound rate.
yeah, I was like, shoot, I'll just grab a shoelace and hold on, tackle them. So I went to those camps on and off for many years, and then finally I graduated high school, and I started going down a couple days a week, and then finally I was signed on in August after, so August 2015. So I was going from like 2013, 2012 or so,
Mhm.
and just going
3 years in and out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
like it was a long time.
That's amazing, and I'm sure not a lot of people get that experience at such a young age as
Yeah,
well.
no,
I mean, do you
nowadays
feel like
you have to be 17 or
right?
sign a waiver or whatever. Yeah, back then it was like, have at it. And it was like, okay. I have no idea, but okay.
But you've turned out well so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good at least. So balancing school and rugby, can you give the viewers out there, the listeners, a little bit of an insight of how many hours of dedicated that you have to do for the sport at Lindenwood? Like when it comes to film, practice, study groups, whatever it may be.
And a child.
Yeah.
And a child.
Yep.
And a child, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mom of all trades over here.
Wow.
Well, with the sport, I get a lot of support, so it's good. Lindenwood, so
But do you guys have a lot on your plate when it comes to just school and rugby at the same time, and how do you really balance that?
Honestly, I don't feel too overwhelmed. You just have to be on top of your stuff. We're by semester, so most of us are taking 4, 5, 6 classes at a time. But we all can choose our schedule. So personally, I made sure my schedule, I only had classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I allow myself like a mental break on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We only practice at night. So all of us have morning classes.
Gotcha.
So it's not something where we have to miss a practice to go to class or anything like that. We have study halls, and we have our certain days off to make sure everybody's healthy, both physically and mentally. So it's not as difficult to handle as you would sometimes think.
Right. Because a lot of people that are more accustomed to football or volleyball or soccer sports and the NCAA side of things, and they go, holy cow, we hear horror stories almost of these players doing 40, 60-hour sport weeks on top of school, on top of if they have parental duties or of other, so to speak, other jobs they have to do. So it's kind of nice to hear that, you guys aren't too overwhelmed and you have like a great support system and staff and coaching staff that allows you to do the things you're allowed, that you can't do. So that's awesome to hear though. But for anyone who's out there that is really interested in joining the club or even just, maybe taking a visit to the campus, what are some highlights of Lindenwood and the university?
Something that was huge for me was online classes and also off-campus housing.
Oh,
You
really?
get to live in your own house.
Yeah.
With
That
2
is
other
nice.
roommates. And
Yeah.
it's like you have your kitchen, you're not stuck in a dorm.
Right.
Obviously you have to be junior, senior, but it's nice to like be able to go grocery shopping and have a fridge, instead of being like a tiny little box fridge.
Yeah, that's really nice.
I think one of my favorite parts is just, it's going to sound kind of lame, but the class sizes, just because they're small. So I personally, I've been here for 3 years and I haven't had a huge, 100 people class. It's always been pretty much 25 and under. Most of my classes now have around 15 to 20 people at most. The relationships with your professors and advisors are really, really good. I see my advisor probably once every other week, if not every week. and they all work really closely with you. So
That's amazing. Because I came from a California state school, and our class sizes were a little bit bigger than that.
yeah,
We got up into the 75, maybe, century mark.
Lecture hall.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, and the professor basically goes, anyone got a question? No, great, moving on.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Yep, don't want to delay.
Number
that.
85, what do you got?
Yeah, seriously. At that point, we were picking numbers. But that's really cool to know that the university has such like a private, not private, but more of like a condensed way of teaching and is able to give more quality lectures and activity to the students, which if you're interested, I will plug it in at the bottom here. Of course, the website, social media handles, and a little bit more about the school and how to get in touch with the program. If anyone out there is interested, I'll be sure to plug that in. But anyway, do you guys have anything else that you like really feel like is important in the scope of rugby, in school, anything like that that maybe isn't too political, but something that maybe needs to be brought to the forefront? Just more balls and more hands of rugby players all in the nation.
No, I think, again, like, just from head coach's perspective at the collegiate level, I think you see programs continue to grow, whether that's clubs that start up, whether that's emerging NCAA programs that start up. I think there's so many programs that continue to develop and start up, and I think that's only going to help the game. I think the big thing, obviously, is that the numbers in youth need to continue to get driven up. So we've got enough spaces to fill those teams that are popping up at the collegiate level. But I would say in general, for us, really, it's just about continuing to grow the players and provide them a quality experience. As being a part of this program, we have some people that come in that just want to play for fun. We have some people that come in that want to be the best collegiate player, and we have some people that come in that want to make the national team or their national team if they're from a different country. So I think the cool thing about what we have going on at Lindenwood is just the diversity that we do have. Right now we're represented by 6 different countries in over 20 different states. So it's kind of this giant melting pot of people that have just come in kind of a lot from out of state and just kind of mesh together and gel together pretty quickly. And everybody's kind of cognizant of that and looks out for each other. So it's pretty wild. I mean, having an undergraduate population of around 6,000 and such a big international population on campus. And right now, I would say there's, I think, 41% of our undergrads are all participating in some type of sport. So it's just a really cool kind of collective support system that you have. And somebody just randomly picked St. Charles, Missouri, and we went with it, and we've enjoyed the experience.
Why couldn't it have been California? Right?
Well, tax. Yeah.
I know. It's just too expensive.
But I would say that's kind of one of the bigger things that I think sets our program apart is just the collective unit of people involved in it and kind of where everybody's been and how everybody comes together is pretty cool for us.
That's awesome to hear. And I, as a former coach myself, obviously not to the level that you are, but it's really interesting to have that difference of variance of not only communication to your players and understanding what level they want to play at, but actually having the system to support each level that they do want to participate at, whether it would be potential eagle or, just to throw the ball around and have a good time. But of course, I'm sure you put a lot more effort and time into having very quality games and hopeful victories and everything that comes with it. But again, just a testament to the club and what not only how it's been brought up, but how it's been coached, and obviously the players that essentially give it off to the next the crop, to kind of continue that culture. That's really cool to see, not only in the sport of rugby, but just in a human sense in general. But,
I think we're just excited, like you said, to kind of be here, be a part of the weekend. We're just excited to continue to help grow the game. I think it's such a cliche statement, but the more that these student athletes go out, earn their degree, graduate, wherever they end up, I know they're going to continue to give back, whether that's as a player, whether that's a referee, whether that's as a assistant or a head coach. I think what we're trying to create is just to continue to love to play the sport, and wherever they end up, we want them to kind of give that back, and that's kind of one of my goals. And I think for us, that's obviously a long-term plan, but I think there's a lot of colleges out there that are producing that same enthusiasm for the sport, and I think that's one way that we're going to see it continue to grow in the U.S.
100% agree with you. And For those tuning in, obviously the weekend had passed because this will be posted in the future. But yes, Coach is right. Something like this weekend, we'll put that on Showcase and highlight all the big top, basically highlights of the weekend of the quality of the camaraderie and everything else. So, but yeah, it's a great thing. And if it's ever in your local area to go catch out a game or go see a tournament like this, please go do so. Before we wrap up, and I know you guys have to get ready for the game up here soon, but I just have a couple off the cuff, just funny rugby questions, just to understand a little bit more about you in the past and maybe what you do in some situations. So first off, I'm going to go down the row, so we'll start with you, Coach.
Okay.
And this is a question for all of you. Were you a socks up, socks down, or no socks player?
I would say I was medium height.
Oh, so like right
I was
calf?
mid. I was a mid. Yeah, I was calf.
Just to show off the old horseshoe down there?
Yeah. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay.
I think when I first started, I was definitely socks up, looking back at old pictures. And then slowly but surely over time, it's gotten just lower and lower because I was at that kind of crew length. And now I feel like every practice, I'm at like, a very minimal no-show kind of look. So honestly, just a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I think everyone starts out with the high sock.
Yeah.
And then
It's
it
almost
works its way down. And now I'm now at the half, I show the horseshoe.
What do they call that? Your horseshoe?
I love that.
The old horseshoe.
But no, it's just a funny question to see because you're right. There's like an evolution to how the game not only is played, but how the game looks.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot of like high prim level players, whether they be men's or women's, probably have to, it's in their contract to wear high socks. But it's just when you're seeing on the amateur level or the collegiate side of how the sock differential, kind of goes. But I mean, I was always a high sock guy, and I even put like the tape underneath just to make sure, because I mean, look at that, it's not that big, it's pretty thin. So socks will always fall down my ankles by the end of the game anyway. So, but no, that's funny though.
You dabble with Fun Sock Friday. That's what you got to do.
Oh yeah, I got some flower ones.
Okay.
Which are nice.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I got good ones too.
Nice.
And I'm barefoot, so explains a lot.
When it comes to actually the game itself, if you had a magic wand in your hand and you were able to flick it, what rule would you be able to change and why?
I know.
Oh.
They just changed this rule, but in the last couple of years. But tackler has no offsides. I like that rule.
Really?
I don't like that the tackler has to go through the gate these days.
Yeah. So if you end up on the other side, you have to essentially, show the hands released and then do the crab, walk around, and then
I liked it when you could just get up and just like take the ball.
Yeah.
Made it more competitive. So
Definitely.
yeah, that was a hard one to adjust. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Are you more
So
of like a jackal
take it
yourself?
back.
Is that why? Or
I like to get up fast. Yeah.
Okay.
But now it's like I get up and I'm just like, well, the wreck's already there, so I'm just gonna hop in the line. Mostly in sevens.
Oh, okay.
15s
Yeah.
is a little different.
That's right. McKenna?
I'm trying really hard to think of one.
It's all right. We can come back. We
Honestly.
can come back. DPG. Coach, do you have any on the top of your head?
Not maybe something I would change, but I always find it really interesting, and I don't think it happens too often at the professional level, but sometimes I'll see it at the high school and collegiate level. But when you've got the ball carrier running into a couple tacklers and they just pick you up off your feet and carry you out of touch. That's always just an interesting one to me, like it's just like, well, we're here, and then everybody kind of looks around like, all right, so nobody else is going to join this, so we're
I've
not
been
going to
there.
create them all here, so all right, let's just pick her up and carry her off, and like you've seen it to the point where like you're going like, I've seen it happen to a couple of our players where it's like carried off like 30 meters, and I'm just like, everybody's just kind of sitting there waiting like, all right, well, eventually
And the
it's
ref
going to be
on
your
the
line
ref
out.
doesn't do anything. The ref's just like,
the ref's just like,
and it's like, this isn't dangerous. Like,
yeah,
what?
so I always think that's like an interesting one where everybody like kind of gets into like, well, just carry on, carry him out. Like, we're good.
Yep. Everything good? No.
Yep.
Sure. Okay,
So-
let's go.
Yeah, just an interesting one for me.
Okay.
I don't think there's any rules I would change.
Perfect.
The game's absolutely angelic as is, right? You would never touch it.
Yeah.
Right. Very vintage. Well, actually, I'll lead right into you since you
Oh.
for this next question. But If you could remove one player or position, not an individual from the team,
Got it.
but a position on the field, 1 through 15, and that could be, and if it's a prop, maybe one prop, not both of them, right? So if the game were to be 14s tomorrow, and you had to adjust your style of play, which position would you take off?
I feel like I need everybody. Like, I feel like I need all the forwards.
Okay, so be
So
back.
I'd be back.
Yeah,
Mine would be back
probably.
too.
I would probably take like a wing off.
Okay,
Honestly,
and just have like a rotating back too, and
yeah.
okay, yeah, that's
I'd take a wing off.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would too, but yeah. And I used to be back myself. Which is,
Yeah, I used to play wing, and I think I'd take
Yeah,
it.
me too.
I was gonna
So is
say
that your-
14, yeah.
So
I mean,
is
like-
that everyone's answer? We
Yeah,
all
I
agree?
mean,
Yeah,
not
14.
14?
Our defensive structure is the 10 and 15 dropped anyway, so
Yeah.
we could just have
It's
a
almost
flanker
like
on
just
the
having
edge.
shoot.
Okay. Great. No, I've actually heard blindside flanker before. It's like, oh, that would open up the game a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like essentially doing the same with the wing,
Right.
but you know, it'd be a little bit more.
Different
Hard.
offset piece.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. The last-ish question I have for all y'all is, what is one of the most memorable rugby moments in your career, if you could come up with one?
I already know.
Yeah,
Oh.
Richelle. Yeah,
Richelle's
so
on
good.
fire. She's like, what'd you say? Memorable?
It's so
Got it.
funny. It's like
Oh my
it's all the
gosh.
way back in high school. But I kicked the ball, a crossfield kick, and Kayla Canet caught it.
Shout out, Kayla.
Yeah, Kayla. And then like Casey Carl, I guess.
Shout
And
out, Casey.
Kayla did
Yeah.
like some play, and then they popped it back to me, and I scored a try, and it was just like I retired. That's it. Like mic drop. That's the best I could do.
Right?
And so
Isn't that
I've
such-
never had a play like that ever again. It was just like someone shouted kick, I kicked it, it just worked out perfect, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like that was way too cool.
That's like a fly half's dream. Like,
Yeah.
You literally go to bed just going, oh, cross kick, maybe one day. Maybe one
And you see it, on TV,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my gosh, like that play was crazy.
day.
It's like I did it.
the loop on the edge at the Atlanta Sevens to dive into the try zone, which was a pretty cool one too, because we had the whole Lindenwood team out there
that was
rooting her
cool.
on, so that was a pretty cool
I mean,
experience.
that girl wasn't a very good tackler though.
That's fine. We don't have to say that. McKenna, I know my moment that I've seen of you, but I can't wait to hear yours.
Oh my. No, I'm not sure. I have a lot of like really memorable moments, but I just think like the biggest difference, I guess, just like from high school and now, is just like I came into Lindenwood as a wing, and now I'm a second row.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like recruiting process and everything.
We bring
And I'm
it
sure,
up.
yeah, you're gonna talk about this. I had like the same experience with like a big crossfield kick off of a kickoff. It was the only video I'd ever sent to Billy.
That's it.
And basically I kicked the ball off, picked it back up because the other team just didn't catch it. I don't really know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I just ran and scored. That's all that I've ever seen.
And you're like,
Single game
Coach, this
play.
is all you need to see.
Yeah.
And-
right here.
It was like
But
one
the thing is-
clip, big punt, chase, picked up, scored it in, and I'm watching. I was like, yeah, she's got good speed. Second row, sounds good. And she's like wearing number 11. I was
Yeah.
like, whoa.
But Coach, did you see the kick? Did you see
Yeah.
my speed? Yeah.
No, that's honestly
Yeah.
like the most memorable thing about being here at Lindenwood, just like all of the change. Like you just have to be adaptable and just
Yeah.
move around.
And to be
Okay.
fair, I
Yeah.
think a lot of the players at our program have done that. I think one of the big things for us is that we try and play a pretty open and dynamic and fast game in which that 1 through 15, you all need good ball handling skills, you all need tackle execution, like those core skills. The flashiness is just not in the backs; it's also in the forwards for us. So.
Right. Shout out to the forward pack and getting that little misdirection.
Do some work today.
Doing some
Yeah.
work, okay.
Rochelle's like,
We're
go
waiting
ahead.
for a goose step. She'll like, when she gets a big break, she'll like jump and then just like hit the ground and cut.
Goose step.
I'm so excited.
Is it just looks like a wave from the bottom up? It's just like
It's
oh.
like
Yeah.
it's like slow motion
Yeah.
for a second, and then she hits the ground and she's
Yeah.
like, "Phew."
It's almost like she's frozen you in the air while she's in the air.
Yeah.
I like
You
that.
know, and then
I
it's
like
like
that.
step different way.
Yeah, it's like a gazelle. Just
Oh no, yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Very gazelle-like.
Very gazelle. Complete compliment. Anyway, I know we got a few more minutes, but just wanted to wrap up by saying thank you so much for your time today. I know you have a lot of preparation going for today's match against BYU and, getting back home and all that stuff. But I just wanted to say thank you for your time. And I'm sure a lot of people out there appreciate this and hearing from not only players but the coach and just all-around rugby experiences and knowledge of the game. And if you guys have any shout-outs, please. And I know we've done a few, but if you have any right now, you could give them out to the crowd.
Like people or just
Yeah, or you could be people, teams, whoever you
I
want.
guess. Well, my shout out would be like support women or mothers in sports. Woo!
Woo, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I just want to give a shout out to Kent Crusaders Rugby. That's what got me started. That's what I'm here today.
Roots.
Roots, love it.
My shout outs to just everybody that's helped put this weekend together and all the teams that are here playing and competing.
Definitely. Well, it's going to be really fun to be a part of it and then be in attendance to see how it all transpires. But Lindenwood, thank you so much again. Richelle, Mckenna, Billy, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Catch you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.